Hello, it is me again, Becky. Thank you for stopping by. And happy 4th of July if you live here in the USA. If you don't live in the USA and you're watching this, well, happy whatever day it falls on. This will be the 3rd year in a row that I have tried to gather up a booktuber from every US state to share with you booktubers across the USA. Once again, I was unsuccessful at finding a booktuber to represent every state, but I tried my hardest. And sadly, this will be the last year that I do this video, simply because it's getting harder and harder for me to track down new people from every state. But if any of you out there like this idea and you want to give it a go in the future, by all means, take this idea and run with it, okay? I want to give a huge shout out to Kat at Kat's Novel Adventures for helping me find people, because without her help, there would have been even less people. So thank you so much, Kat, for that. So I have scoured Booktube to try and find a representative of each state, and this year they will be sharing with you their most surprising book of the year so far, and a little fun fact about their state if they so wish to do so. It wasn't a requirement, it was just a fun little added thing, because shout out to Sarah at Sarah Hart's Books. In the last 2 videos, she has always shared a fun fact, and I just loved that. So I thought, why not have other people share fun facts as well? In this video, keep track of how many flags you can collect of the booktubers you are subscribed to, and let me know at the end of this video how many flags you were able to collect, because if there's one thing we like here in the US, it's a flag. So without further ado, here are the Booktubers Across the USA 2025 edition in alphabetical order by state. Take it away.
Hello, my name is Bailey and I'm from the channel Bailey Nicole Reads, and I am an Alabama booktuber. So on my channel I pretty much just do a bunch of different types of vlogs. I do a lot of themed vlogs, weekly vlogs, reading vlogs, sometimes travel vlogs, but my channel is mostly bookish. I do some sit down videos as well. I generally read romance and fantasy, but I have been kind of dabbling into a little bit of horror and thrillers lately. Still trying to find my niche in those genres, but I am a very, very big romance and fantasy girly. Thank you to Becky for including me in this video project. I'm so excited to be here, and I hope to see you guys somewhere else on the internet.
Hi, I'm Christy, and my channel is Christy Reads a Lot, and I live in the gorgeous state of Alaska. First of all, thank you so much to Becky for putting this entire collaboration together. I'm so excited to watch everybody else's clips across the US. So Becky had asked us to share a book that surprised us the most this year, and for me, that is Left Forever by Tara DeWitt. So this book surprised me because it's an author that I had actually read in the past, a few of her different books, and I didn't think she was really for me, but I was sent this book early from the publisher and decided to give it a try, and I'm so glad I did. This is her newest release that just came out in May of this year, and I love this one. It is a second chance romance between a divorced couple. So in this one, the hero and the heroine were really young when they were married, and so now it is years later, they're divorced. They co-parent their son, who they're actually on a road trip together to take their son away to college. And what I loved about this one is that you see their connection together on this road trip, and you really get to see where the characters are now in their life, instead of like constantly thinking about the past and going over all these things that maybe they could have done, should have done, wish the other one was better at. And so instead we focus on their present and moving forward into the future, so we don't get like flashbacks or anything like that, which I felt like was a little bit unique for second chance romances. And I just love this one to pieces, and it definitely has me wanting to pick up more from Tara DeWitt in the future. So I'm so glad I gave this author another try. So that is the book that surprised me this year. Becky also asked us to share some facts about the state that we live in. So like I mentioned, I live in Alaska, and apparently a lot of people don't know, but Alaska is the largest state in the United States. Basically, if you took the state and split it in half, both of those pieces would still be the largest 2 states now in the country. And then speaking of size, Alaska has the most coastline as well, like the most shores in the United States. Like even if you took the coastline, the shores of the rest of the 49 states, combined all of theirs, Alaska still has the biggest coastline. So love that so much. Definitely the size of Alaska is what I feel like people don't really realize, because on the map it always shows it so small, but it's huge.
Hi everyone, I'm Debbie with Book and Bujo, where I talk about all things books, bullet journals, and stationery. And I am representing Arizona for this amazing project. And I love Arizona, and a couple of fun little facts about Arizona. The original London Bridge was relocated to Lake Havasu City, Arizona. I thought that was kind of interesting. We also do not do any time changing, so no daylight savings time here. We are never have to set the clocks forward or back. We also have the beautiful Grand Canyon, which everyone knows about, Tombstone, Petrified Forest, Painted Desert, the Saguaro National Park. But what you may not know is we have a state neckwear, and that is the bolo tie. And last little fun thing about Arizona is we have the 5 C's. We have cattle, copper, cotton, climate, and citrus. Now for my most surprising book of the year so far. Well, I typically read fantasy, and my most surprising book is actually The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This is not one I would typically pick up or think I would enjoy at all, but for some reason, I was hooked from beginning to end. I loved it. This is a pink horror, or if you want to think of it more as like a feminist rage horror. It's fast-paced, it's kind of dark, a little bit tense, and it explores kind of cultural identity as well as trauma through rage and I would say psychological unraveling. It's very interesting. I would highly recommend it.
My name is April from Happily Ever April. I am in California, specifically Northern California, and my most surprising read is going to be Viciously Yours by Jamie Applegate Hunter. I just finished this. It is a short one, and honestly, I am surprised I liked it. This book has no plot. It has no plot. It's completely about the relationship of these two characters. At 13, this young boy finds out the name of his mate, and he also finds out that she's a human living in the human realm. He cannot go to her until she is of age. And so instead, to build that relationship, he starts sending her letters from the ripe old age of 13. He also starts sending her these weird little gifts. And when she's reading these letters, she's like, is someone pranking me? And then when they both reach the age of 25, he comes to claim his mate. This hero is also not a good guy. He's not a good guy, and he's a walking red flag. And pretty much everything about him says I shouldn't like this, but I do. It was a really fun book. I really enjoyed it. Also, fun fact about California is we're not actually on fire. At least not right now.
Hi everyone, my name is Rochelle. I have the channel Good Morning Dreamer. I read a lot of different books from thriller to fantasy, but I also really love books that have representation in it, especially if it comes to disability representation, as that is something that is very important to me. And I just want to say thank you so much to Becky for letting me go and represent the state of Colorado. The book that was the most surprising book for me for the year of 2025 so far was The Grace Year by Kim Leggett. This book was just so good and was unlike any other book that I've read so far. If you like The Handmaid's Tale, this might be a book that is right up your alley. It's very dystopian and has a lot of similar vibes in that story that I really enjoy. Our main character is living in this community where basically is told that women have this magic that will basically cause a man to go and leave their wives and go and cheat on them. Their skin is said to be this aphrodisiac that will make other women go mad. And so when they turn 16, they're sent away to get rid of their magic before they can return to their community and become marriage material and go and have a family of their own. This concept was so interesting, and I don't want to go too into details because I don't want it to be a spoiler. I think you should go into this story with as little expectations as possible, but I will go and read a blurb at the end because I think it is so important. It says, with sharp, gritty prose, The Grace Year is a story of survival and freedom, about fighting for what's right, no matter the cost, and finding hope in the darkest of circumstances. This book was so good, and I honestly wish that I could reread it again for the first time, so highly recommend going and picking this up.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave. This is Olive, and we're from the channel Book Blather. We'll reread a little bit of everything, including a lot of horror and science fiction. We hail from the state of Connecticut, and we want to thank Becky so much for inviting us to partake in this collaboration. So our most surprising book of the year was Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This book was published in 2020, and which is when we bought it and then promptly sat on it for almost 5 years. And we picked it up a little over a month and a half ago and group read it with a couple of people, and we are so glad we did. everything about this book surprised us, including how much we liked it. We had heard a lot of people like this, but we were just surprised at how much we were transported into this other wondrous world. So it was really surprising, the uniqueness of the world building. It wasn't overly complex, but it was just incredibly fantastical and whimsical, that place that you could really get lost in. We follow our main character, Piranesi, and he lives in this mysterious large house with endless amounts of hallways and all different levels, and he knows it very well and has been there for as long as he can remember. And he records everything meticulously in the set of journals that he has, including, where everything is and where all the tides are. And there is the only other person he knows there is this other that he only meets periodically that gives him certain things, but otherwise he is there pretty much by himself. And he has great reverence for the place. All of the hallways have these beautiful statues of nature and mythical creatures in them, such that when you read it, you are constantly searching for metaphor. The other wonderful thing about this, surprising thing about this book, was the level in which you were constantly questing to solve the mystery of this book, in particular finding out what the story is with this house and Piranesi's place in it. We see a lot of the time, we see him, but we also learn about these other academics kind of in our world that had a different kind of research. So you can read this book very literally, just that it's a fantasy world, but you can also look a little more deeply and try to determine what your interpretation of what this house is and Piranesi's place in it. So it's a wonderful exploration of just identity and isolation and attachment and memory and reverence for the world in which you live. And so it was a wonderful book, and I hope you all read it.
Hi, I'm Sue Jackson, and my channel is called Sue Jackson DE. The DE stands for Delaware, and that's where I live. Delaware is the second smallest state in the nation. It's known as the first state because it was the first to ratify the Constitution, and we're located in the mid-Atlantic, between New Jersey and Maryland. I do have a lot of content on my channel about books and reading. I love to read. Some of my favorite books you can see behind me. I also host the Big Book Summer Challenge, so there's lots of book content. I also have some content on my channel about chronic illness, because I live with chronic illness. As for the book that has most surprised me this summer, that's an easy one. The Road to Roswell by Connie Willis, a book I just read in May that just blew me away. I'm a huge fan of Connie Willis. I love her novels. This one's very different, and I absolutely loved it. It's very funny, it's heartwarming, it's got plenty of suspense and a very twisty plot. Highly recommended.
My name is Amanda from Amanda's Booktopia, and I am here in Florida to represent the book that surprised me the most was Ask for Andrea by Noelle Ely. It was, wow. It was really impactful for me. It's about 3 girls who are trying to solve their own murder. And the message behind it and the way that it ended was just so powerful, and I felt like more people need to read this book. And a fun fact for you guys, here in Florida, there are laws in some areas of the state preventing mobile food truck operators from dressing too sexy out of fear it may be a source of distraction for passing drivers. I happen to think that's hilarious.
Hello everyone, my name is Janaea, and I'm with the channel Live 1,000 Lives. I live in the good state of Idaho. We have lots of beautiful scenery, lakes, etc. I like to go paddleboarding and swimming and read by the lakes, so it's super nice and peaceful. My favorite books of 2025 so far are the Imperium series as of right now. I read them so fast, took me 3 weeks to read the whole thing, which is saying something. Head on over to Live 1,000 Lives. We're trying to hit 800 subscribers by December, so if you could help me out, that would be great. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Hi, my name is Tina, and I go by Tina Books on YouTube, and I am representing the state of Illinois. I am relatively new to YouTube, but I am not new to book influencing. I have been talking about books online since 2016. So I am TBR, etc. on Instagram, TikTok, and I also have a podcast called Book Talk, etc. that I've been running for about 4 years. I love to read mystery, thriller, new releases, contemporary fiction. That is my wheelhouse. The book that I'm sharing for my most surprising that I've read this year is Bat Eaters and Other Names for Cora Zhang by Kylie Lee Baker. The reason I'm choosing this one as the most surprising is because I knew it was horror. I knew there was a serial killer that is targeting Asian American women. What I did not expect was that I would cry so hard from reading this one. The author's note really got me, and I love that the author brought some social issues into this, really had a point of view while also delivering a truly terrifying story. So highly recommend this one. And a fun fact about Illinois is that our Illinois state fossil is the Tully monster, and that is actually my great uncle that discovered the Tully monster. So fun fact for you today. Thanks so much, and hopefully I will see you around YouTube.
Hello, I'm Tiara from Aubrey Books and Coffee, and I love that Becky reached out and asked me to represent Indiana. I am proud to do so. So for the state of Indiana, in case you didn't know, we actually have a city called Santa Claus, and hundreds of thousands of letters are sent there to Santa every year. Isn't that fabulous? And of course, what Indiana is most known for is Indianapolis's Motor Speedway, the Indy 500. The race goes on all the time. I don't give out 5 stars very often. So if you think your tastes align with mine by looking at my books behind me, then listen up, because I cannot recommend this one highly enough. And that is book 3 in Molly the Maid's series, The Maid's Secret by Nita Prose. I love this series so much. You've got mystery, you've got murder, you've got mayhem, and this one in particular, you've got money from an inheritance. And as if all of that wasn't enough to entice you, you've got mental health rep as well, which is fantastic. There's not enough of that in our books, but there's also humor and quirky characters, and I just love the ride. And I knew I was going to like it because I liked the others, but it really blew me away, especially as book 3 blew me away.
Hey everybody, this is Kelsey and I am representing Iowa. I am on Instagram and on Booktube as Essentially Booked. Iowa, a lot of you guys probably just think of us as like corn and pigs, which to be fair. My hometown is the home of both Superman and Aquaman, or Khal Drogo. So Brandon Routh was in Superman, not the good Superman. And then Jason Momoa is Aquaman, Khal Drogo, but they both went to the same high school I went to. They played on the same soccer team. Fun fact. So my most surprising book thus far was the very first book I finished this year, and it is called Northwoods by Daniel Mason. This is very literary, but I would say this reminds me of like an A24 film, and it's super weird. I thought it would be very highbrow literary, and it is, but it's told in a bunch of vignettes, and it's about a plot of land and the people who live there over time, and how time and where your roots are from shape who you are, how you develop in place. There's a lusty beetle. One of the characters is a beetle. There's this panther. There's an apple tree. There are 2 really creepy, like poltergeist-esque girls that still give me nightmares, but this was just a really, if you like literary, this is a treat, and I recommend it. It's something I want to reread because knowing how it ends makes you want to go back and catch all of the Easter eggs throughout the book. It was just lovely. It's so well done.
Hey everyone, my name is Chloe and my channel name is Always Booked, and I am so excited to be here today representing Kansas and unintentionally wearing a Kansas City Royals shirt, so go Royals. But today I'm going to tell you about my most surprising read this year, and this book was surprising to me because I just recently hauled it, and I can't remember where I got it, but it has very, very low ratings on Goodreads, so I thought, well, I'm going to read it because it's a hardback, it's something I can clear off my shelves and be done with it because it's clearly not very good, and I loved it. So I'm talking about The Rehearsals by Annette Christie. So this is a Groundhog's Day trope about a couple who is about to get married, and they are kind of perfect on paper, but there's some things going on that make them less than perfect. So they are going to the rehearsal dinner. A whole bunch of secrets come out, secrets on both sides. So she has a secret past with the best man. He's got a secret that he's keeping in his career, and they both are keeping secrets. It all blows up. And then the next morning they wake up and it's the same day over and over and over, and they are trying to get it right. And they do a lot of different things on these days. But what I loved is they are both angry, wanting to call off the wedding, hurt, all of the things on the first day. And they really learn how to, step by step, day by day, they are learning how to communicate. And I just found it so relatable. You know, my emotional gut instinct would be very similar to theirs on the first day. But then when you actually get around to communicating the root cause, all those kind of things, they were able to communicate. And I'm not going to tell you what they choose one way or the other or how they get out of the time loop, but I thought this was really great. So I was very pleasantly surprised. This was a great surprise. I would recommend it. If you don't mind the Groundhog's Day trope, they live the same day 4 or 5 days. So if you don't mind that, definitely check this out and come on over to Always Booked and we'll see you there.
Hi guys, I'm Rachel from Rachel's Rambling Reviews, and I live in Kentucky, which is known for urban, bluegrass, and the Kentucky Derby, amongst other things. My most surprising book so far this year is Whose Body by Dorothy Sayers. It's the first book in the Lord Peter Wimsey series. I had no expectations going into this. I'm a huge fan of Agatha Christie, so someone recommended this, and I really liked it. I think the characters are great. I think the detective in this story, who's more of a lord, but he does some detective work, is different than, say, a Sherlock Holmes or a Poirot. He's very funny and lighthearted, and he has his valet working with him that he plays off very well because the valet is more of the straight man. So I thought that there was great characters and that the murder mystery was well written. Definitely worth checking out if you like Agatha Christie, or if you like more modern murder mysteries like the Thursday Murder Club. This is going to be my recommendation and my most surprising book so far.
Hey friends and fellow bibliophiles, I'm Kat of Kat's Novel Adventures, and I am from Louisiana, the home of a unique Creole and Cajun culture. Fun fact, the author Anne Rice, known for her gothic fiction and vampire novels, hails from New Orleans, the biggest city in Louisiana. So I'm excited to share that my most surprising book of the year so far is a historical fiction novel by a new-to-me author, and that novel is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is a compelling and emotional story that follows two sisters, Vianne and Isabel, and the struggles they face and the courage they demonstrate during World War II in Nazi-occupied France. I had no idea what to expect since I tend to read middle grade books about World War II, but I loved it and I was fully invested in the lives of these two women. This is a powerful story, beautifully written, and it deeply affected me. So much so that I want to read more by Kristen Hanna. In the meantime, friends, stay amazing, be adventurous, and as we say in Louisiana, laissez les bon temps rouler, let the good times roll.
Hi, my name is Autumn. My channel is Autumn Rose and I was in a book, and I'm a booktuber from the state of Maine. I have recently come back from a hiatus and I'm happy to be back here on Booktube. I love this community so much. My most surprising book of the year so far has been Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. This is one of my first 5-star reads of the year, and the reason why it is so surprising to me is because it actually contains tropes that I hate, but for some reason it worked for me with this book. I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it. It's quite a quick read. It was a really good audiobook too. I love listening to audiobooks. Fun fact about Maine is that we are the only state with a 1-syllable name.
Hi, my name is Katie and my channel is Katie Reads, and I am from the state of Maryland. I predominantly read romance, and then I do sprinkle in a few thrillers every now and then because at the core, I was once a thriller girly, but now I'm in my romance era, so that's predominantly what I read. The book that surprised me the most this year is actually Where the Mountains Meet the Sea by A.R. Breck. This is a romance, however, it does not end in an HEA. So I know most people are like, romances have to have an HEA. Great. I'm not one of those people. This is a love story, okay? This spans almost 20 years of their lives together. Things happen. They're soulmates through and through. So if you love a right person, wrong time book, you're gonna love this. I promise you. If you've read like A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner, it gives those vibes, but just remember, it does not have an HEA and you will need tissues when you read this book. I am just warning you now. I didn't really have any fun facts, but I can tell you a fun fact about the community in which I live in. I have lived through 2 natural disasters. Yes, I have. In the span of 30 years, we had a flood in 1996, and then we just recently had a flood last month. So that's fun.
Hey folks, my name is Jen, and my channel here in the land of Booktube is called Wicked Pluto's Wicked Reading. I live in the state of Massachusetts, where, fun fact, we are home to the oldest ballpark in the major leagues, which is Fenway, home of the Boston Red Sox. As for the most surprising book that I've read so far this year, that would probably have to be Fan Service by Rosie Danan. This is a romance novel, very spicy, about a woman who is a fan of the Supernatural TV show, but due to a run-in that she had with one of the stars of it when she was a teenager, she kind of hates him a lot. But years later, he ends up coming to her for help because he has started to turn into a werewolf. It's a lot more complicated than that, but that's basic rundown. I knew that I was probably going to like this book when I pre-ordered it as it was coming out this year, just based on the synopsis, but I didn't know how much I would absolutely love it. Like, this thing has me in a chokehold. I am planning on reading it again this month. It's great.
What's up, beasties? It's Triple B, your friendly neighborhood bearded book beast. I'm representing the state of Michigan, which I am excited to do. And my channel, we just like to hang out and have a good time and have fun. People say they like my energy and they like to just hang out and talk about books, which I do. Fantasy, sci-fi, horror, amongst others. And I like to do a little something called Beast Friends Forever, where I have authors and other booktubers and content creators on. But let me tell you a little something about Michigan before I talk about the biggest surprise book of the year for me. Michigan is known as the Mitten, and that is because if you look at Michigan, it looks like the shape of a mitten. Recently, I read Discovery by J.J. Minton, which is the Talking Story family. Check out their channel if you have not seen it. It's fantastic. And this book was awesome. Well written, a lot of fun. Apocalypse told in 5 acts. That's the pitch for the book, and it was very good. And the other one was The Way of a Dan by Philip Chase, who had Dr. Fantasy, who has an awesome booktube channel. Had a good classic feel, but also very modernly and accessibly written, with some dark stuff too. Until I see you in the next one, everybody, devour your TBRs, be brave, be beautiful to one another, and be beastly. We'll see ya.
My name is Ashley, and my channel name here on YouTube is Ash Loves Books Plus Owls. I am from Minnesota. My most surprising book that I have read this year is probably Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. This book was very, so good. I understand why, so many people, I saw it on so many people's, favorites lists last year. And I had to pick it up and give it a shot. And I'm normally not a huge, fantasy, I love fantasy romance, and I love romance, but I'm not, a big, heavier fantasy reader. This one really surprised me with how much I love it, and it's probably going down as one of my favorite reads of the year.
Hello, everybody, or it might be a little bit more apt to say, hey y'all, because I am from the great state of Mississippi. My name is Heather from the channel Books and Heather, and as far as a book that was a surprise to me this year, I think I have to go with Assassin's Apprentice and then all of the books that follow in the Farseer trilogy, and this is by Robin Hobb. This book really took me by surprise because I was intimidated by it for so long. This is epic adult fantasy that is a little bit slower paced, but you get so attached to the characters and the politics and the scheming, the potential romance, the creatures. It just really was a good time from start to finish. I am 2 books deep into this series now and cannot wait to continue. So if you're looking for something to scratch that fantasy itch, this is a really good series to pick up. And then a fun fact about Mississippi, We are home to Mississippi Book Fest, which is a literary lawn party on our Capitol's grounds in Jackson. It is so much fun. We bring in authors, panelists, podcasters, social media people from all over the country, and in some cases all over the world. And it is honestly one of the most fun things I have done in Mississippi. And I really hope that you visit. Bye guys.
Hi, my name is Shelby and I am from A Little Literary Love here on YouTube. I am from the state of Missouri, and my most surprising book that I've read so far this year is going to be Untethering Dark by Desiree M. Nicolai. I picked this one up because I saw the revered, beautiful, lovely Ruby Dixon post this on her social media page recommending this book. So I picked it up thinking I was just going to enjoy it. It's a fun monster romance and I loved it. It's one of my favorite books that I read this year, about a witch in training to become a hag, and she makes offerings to this forest god that she lives in the forest with so that he does not eat her, and then some pesky humans end up destroying her offering, and she has a run-in with the forest god, and it's just very smutty. The monster romance, it has a great plot, it's very strong female character, lots of things with nature, and I just ate this up. I loved it so much, and I definitely recommend it.
Hello, I am Courtney from Coco's Book Nook. I read a lot of everything, actually. My favorite, probably fantasy and thrillers. I am from Montana, and my most surprising book of the year, I would probably have to go with the Crimson Moth duology. These had me captivated, and I absolutely loved this duology, and I still think about it and I want to reread it because they are amazing and I love them. A little fun fact about Montana, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but if you ride a horse to school, the principal actually has to take care of it. Like, they have to provide hay, feed it, water it, take care, like figure out how to take care of that horse while you're in classes for the day.
I'm Kat at Cat Reviews Books. I'm from Nebraska, the home state of Dorothy Lynch. It's literally made here in Nebraska, and most people outside of Nebraska don't know what this is. It's a very tangy salad dressing. I mostly post reviews and hauls, typically more or less associated with dystopian and YA books. My most surprising book of the year for me, it's gonna have to be The Rose Bargain. I don't typically read fantasy, and this is a book about fae, something I generally would never pick up, but my coworker suggested it, and I devoured it, and I am sad and waiting for the next book.
Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy, and this is my channel Bandy's Books, and today Luna and I are here to tell you a little bit about my most surprising read of the year so far, and also about the state that I currently live in, which is Nevada. So first of all, the book that I found most surprising this year was Fundamentally by Nusaybah Yunus. This book is about a woman who writes a thesis on the de-radicalization of ISIS brides. And then the UN picks up her research and says, hey, this sounds great. Let's go take this over to the Middle East and do exactly that. So she gets hired on and sent to the Middle East to de-radicalize ISIS brides. And there she finds out all about the bureaucracy of international organizations, humanitarian aid, and really what it takes to de-radicalize people. This book is full of tons of complex themes and topics. This is a book that sounds like it would be really heavy and depressing, but honestly, the thing that I found most surprising about it is how much I laughed through this book. There are moments of levity built into a otherwise a very complex and heavy story, and I think that that's part of what makes this book so successful. You can't help but chuckle at some of the craziness from the bureaucrats surrounding our main character. There are, of course, moments that are heartbreaking and sad, and there are moments of frustration that mirror very much what happens in the real world. Fun fact about Nevada, we have the single rarest species of fish located here in Nevada. That is the devil's hole pupfish, and they are an endemic species of pupfish that has evolved specifically in this one underground cave system. Devil's Hole is this massive underground cave system just outside of Death Valley in a wildlife refuge, and the Devil's Hole is the entryway up at the surface. Pupfish got into this cave system, and they have evolved in a very specific way in this one little entryway of this cave system. This species exists nowhere else in the world but within this cave system outside of Death Valley. Thanks again for including me in this video, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the state of Nevada.
Hi everyone, my name's Lee. My YouTube channel is Dark Roots Creations. I live in New Jersey, and the most interesting or surprisingly interesting book that I read this year so far is Lasagna Means I Love You by Kate O'Shaughnessy. This is a middle grade book about a girl named Mo whose parents passed away. She was living with her grandmother until she recently passed away. Due to some circumstances, she has to move in with a foster family or two, and she decides to pick up a hobby. It was a suggestion that was made to her. At the foster home office, she does find a book of family recipes, and she really becomes interested in the family aspect of recipes and sharing a meal and how they came to be. She starts a website, one, for people to share more recipes with her, but two, hoping she will find some real family and she can have her very own family recipes. So I thought this was super sweet. It was so well written, so well thought out. You definitely got that this was from the mind of a, middle school child, and the recipes and the stories behind her getting them were just so good. I gave this one 5 stars, and I would love to read more by this author.
Hi, my name is Whitney from the channel of Tibra's Den, and I live in New Mexico. Thank you to Becky for inviting me to do this yet again and represent New Mexico. A fun fact about New Mexico, I don't know how well known it is, but we have a little town called Hatch. It is tiny. You can drive through it in like 5 minutes, and it is known, like, I don't know if worldwide, but at least, within the United States for their green chili. So that's a fun little fact. If you live in New Mexico or you're visiting and you go to a Mexican restaurant, you'll get asked whether you want red or green, and that refers to the chili. And my most surprising book so far this year has been The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. This one shocked me because I was thinking a sci-fi written in the 90s, probably not gonna love it, and 5 stars. Wrecked me emotionally. Like, there's so much depth and conversation about like morality and such to be had from this book. I absolutely love this. I'm so glad I ended up reading it.
Hi friends, I'm Jen, and Becky has invited me to participate in her 2025 Booktubers Across the Country video, and I feel so honored that she invited me to represent New York State this year. My Booktube page is called Pages and Chaos because I am a complete mood reader and I just embrace the chaos that is my reading style. But you also might see my 2 chaos kitties or hear them at any given point in my videos, and I just have to embrace the chaos. So the book that I'm going to share with you that surprised me so far in 2025 is Echo by Pam Munoz-Ryan. This is a middle grade historical fiction, and I gave this 5 stars, which that in itself is very surprising because I am very stingy with my 5 stars. And this is about Otto, who gets a prophecy and a harmonica, and this harmonica makes its way to Frederick in Germany in the 1930s, to Mike in Philadelphia in the Great Depression, and to Ivy in California during World War II. And somehow their stories all come together and connect through this harmonica. I absolutely love this book, and what was surprising to me was the fact that I actually cried and got teary-eyed with this book, which is very, very rare for me. I will laugh out loud. Yes, I feel emotional tugs, but to actually cry during a book was very surprising to me. But I highly recommend to pick up Echo and also do some immersion reading and pick up the audio as well, because there are tons of scenes where musical instruments are playing and this harmonica is playing, and they actually play the music in the audio, and it is just beautiful. So if you are a fan of historical fiction and middle grade, Echo is the book for you. And just to leave you guys off, I'm going to get one little fun fact for you about New York. And to this day, I find this hilarious because I live in one of the 5 boroughs. So if you've ever been to Manhattan or any part of New York City, you know that honking happens every 5 seconds. But it is actually illegal to honk in New York State. Something that you can only do if there is immediate danger. And to this day, I just find that hysterical.
Hey guys, I'm Ty and my channel is Ty's Book Corner, and I reside here in North Carolina. I have been here for the last couple of years and I absolutely love it. In terms of the most surprising book that I have read so far this year, I would have to say that is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This is a adult fiction story. I was not expecting to like this. This is my first book by this author and I was pleasantly surprised. It follows 2 ice skaters, Katarina Shaw and Heath Rocha, and we follow them as they are getting prepared for the Olympic Games, but there is a lot of drama and mess that leads up to those games, and then we see the aftermath and the fallout of some events that took place. This was really entertaining. This is definitely one that I would recommend listening to on audio, and I'm looking forward to read more from this author. So a fun fact or a bookish fact about North Carolina is that it is the home to one of the oldest libraries in the US. It was established in 1812 and it is the State Library of North Carolina.
Hello everyone, I'm Jordan. My channel is Sorry Booked Solid. I'm from North Dakota and I'm very excited to be representing the state in this collab video. I read a little bit of every genre, to be honest. My favorites though usually land in the realistic fiction type of realm, and my most surprising book that I have read so far this year is a science fiction called Dissolution by Nicholas Binge. I went into this book knowing absolutely nothing about the plot or the premise, and that is how I recommend going into it. I will just say that it has to do with topics like memory and time travel. Some books that I would compare it to are Recursion by Blake Crouch and The Other Side of Night by Adam Hamdy. These are 2 of my all-time favorite sci-fi books. So if you do pick any of them up, I hope you enjoy.
Hi there, my name is Crystal and my channel is Books Forever After, and I primarily read all things romance, including historical romance, fantasy romance, and dark romance. So if those are things that interest you, I encourage you to give a follow. So I am in the state of Ohio. The surprising read of the year so far has got to be Kiss of the Basilisk by Lindsay Straub. This is, it used to be indie, was called The Split or Swallow. And this is my first time reading it. This is the traditionally published version. And this is an erotic monster romance that has Bachelor vibes, where the candidates are trained in the art of seduction by the basilisk. And our heroine is being trained by someone called the Serpent King. And things just go from there. It just caught me by surprise. It was a wild, wild time. One thing to note that this is an erotic monster romance, so that does mean that spice is the name of the game. So if that's something that you're not interested in, then this might not be for you. But if you are interested in a wild time, I highly recommend. It was really, really good, and I am really looking forward to book 2 later this year.
Hi guys, I'm Clint from Reed's Readers, and I'm here to represent the greatest state in our nation, Oklahoma. Let me rephrase that. Oklahoma. On my channel, you will find that I am really known for queer literature of all kinds, but specifically romance most of the time. The book that I would like to share with you guys that has surprised me the most this year is my favorite book of the year so far, and that is Cubs and Campfires by Dylan Drakes. This is about 2 burly, beefy bears falling in love in the middle of the woods. It's angsty, it's sexy, it's everything gay, and I love it. Love seeing sex positivity in heavy set men. Another thing about Oklahoma that I don't think most people know is we have one of the best queer communities in the nation. If you are gay and you do drag and stuff like that, we welcome you with open arms and hugs all around. Until next time, guys, have a gay day. Bye.
Hey guys, my name is Sam and my channel is Samantha Donovan. I do reading vlogs and sit-down videos, and I often primarily read fantasy and horror, which is why I'm in front of my horror shelves, because when I was looking up some Oregon fun facts, the one that stuck out to me most was that Oregon has the most ghost towns than any other state, which seems crazy to me because I know of one. But I thought that was really cool. So yeah, we have a lot of ghost towns, which makes sense to maybe why I like some spooky ghost books. But also, the most surprising book that I have read this year is... Oh, wait, no, we're not talking about that one. My most surprising book this year would probably be Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. I've been saying his name wrong for so long, and I think that's correct. Anyway, this one was really interesting. It's a horror book. Definitely check trigger warnings if you're interested in picking it up, but it feels very, you know, real to things that are kind of going on and how things are working in America especially. So it's a very interesting but very like shocking and weirdly funny horror book that I actually really enjoyed. So that would maybe be like my most surprising. I haven't had a great reading year, I'll be honest. I've had very few 5 stars, so this one is definitely up there.
Hi, I'm Alex from the channel Pucks and Paperbacks, where I love to uplift queer and trans books. I'm from Pennsylvania, born and raised. My most surprising book of the year so far has been Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I'm somebody who likes to stick to contemporary settings, so fantasy is not something I ever read or gravitate towards unless it's a graphic novel. So I ended up reading Legends and Lattes as a part of my Patreon, and I was pleasantly surprised. I loved the found family in this book, and specifically how we get to see the cafe evolve over time. I'm somebody who loves marketing, so I really appreciated getting to see how Legends and Lattes evolved. My fun fact is, of course, bookish. Louisa May Alcott, the author of Little Women, she was born in Philadelphia on November 29th, 1832. She was born at Pine Place in Germantown, PA, to educator Bronson Alcott and his wife Abigail. Louisa was a Civil War nurse and suffragist, and of course, as we all know, she wrote books. The Alcotts lived in Philadelphia, however, they moved out of Germantown to Boston in 1934 when she was 2 years old due to the passing of her father. I thought that was so interesting. I had no idea that she was from here, so I hope you enjoyed that little fact.
Hi, my name is Sarah from the channel Sarah Hearts Books, and I am representing the smallest state in the US, Rhode Island. Fun fact about Rhode Island, we are home to the world's largest insect statue. That's right, the world's largest. A termite standing 9 feet tall, 58 feet long. Please welcome the big blue bug, Nibbles Woodaway. And yes, he is a fashionable bug. He dresses up as Rudolph for the winter holidays. He dressed up as the Hulk for Rhode Island Comic Con. He has an iconic summer look with his Awful. That's an ice milk beverage, similar to a milkshake. Very quintessential Rhode Island as well. And don't you worry, he wore a mask in solidarity with us in 2020. But enough about bugs, let's talk about books. My most surprising read of the year so far was actually the first book that I finished this year, and that was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I know this book had its moment, and a lot of people love it, some people hate it, but listen, I'm not a historical girly, I'm not a science girly, I'm not a lit-fic girly. Would you call this lit-fic? I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. In Lessons in Chemistry, you're following a chemist named Elizabeth Zott in like the 1940s or 1950s as she gets fired from her job, basically for being a woman. And she ends up, for reasons, becoming the host of a television cooking show. It's hard-hitting, but it's funny. There's a dog named 630, who of course was my favorite character. And it gave me like a little bit of Frederick Bachman vibes. Not like totally, but just like a little bit. I loved this book so much more than I ever could have imagined. So if you haven't read it yet, maybe pick it up if that sounds interesting to you. But do check trigger warnings first. Okay, bye!
Hi y'all, I'm Rylan from Reading with Rylan, and I'm representing the state of Tennessee. One fun fact about my state is that there are around 10,000 caves and caverns scattered throughout the state. And some of my most surprising books of the year so far have been Unromanced by Erin Connor, The Chamber by Will Dean, Never Ever Getting Back Together by Sophie Gonzalez, and finally Confessions by Kanae Minato.
Hello, my name is Stephanie. My channel is Stephanie's Bookverse, and I am representing Utah. I live in Utah, and a fun fact about Utah is that the first KFC, or Kentucky Fried Chicken, actually started in Utah, not in Kentucky, as most people rightly think. A book that surprised me this year, I'm gonna go with one that surprised me in that it was kind of a little bit more emotional than I was expecting, because I haven't been super surprised by books this year. I've been picking ones that I kind of get what I'm expecting, but that is Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Merlier. This book was so emotional. I was crying through a good chunk of it. I really went in expecting a beautifully written fairy tale-esque fantasy story with amazing atmosphere, and it was that, but I didn't know how hard-hitting and emotional and just how devastating this book would be to read. It was so good. I was so emotionally invested in this book and these characters, and I just didn't really know that it was going to be that rough.
Hey everybody, we are Bestie Book Reviews. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mandy. We're from Washington State, and we read a lot of books. We read all over the romance genre, dark romance, contemporary, alien, captive. We read it all.
So one of my favorite books from this year has been Caitlin Can't Die by Liz Hamilton. It is a post-apocalyptic rom-com. It's amazing.
And mine is First Verse by L.M. Halloran. This is part of a duet. It's rock star with mental health and addiction rep. So good.
One fun fact about Washington State is if you are using an umbrella, we know that you are a tourist. We don't use them here. We just like to live in the rain, but that's how we can tell you're a tourist.
Hello, my name is Lena. My channel is Lena's Bookshelf, and I live in Virginia. I am a born and raised Virginian. I love Virginia, and a fun fact that not a lot of people know about Virginia is that it's sometimes called the mother of presidents because Virginia has produced more US presidents than any other state. There's actually 8 of them to be exact. But I wanted to talk about my most surprising book of the year, and that is The Coworker by Frida McFadden. People have a lot of things to say about Frida McFadden. I know there is some polarizing opinions. I personally love Frida McFadden's work. I eat it up. I love the popcorn thrillers. Right now, I am just loving popcorn thrillers that I can just get through really fast. They are a good time. They keep me guessing. They keep me intrigued, and then I can move on to something else. And The Coworker was exactly that. It had some twists that I didn't see coming, and it had a really good ending. Basically, this story is about a woman who works in an office setting, and the person that sits next to her in the office is a little bit odd, but definitely keeps a schedule, definitely has a routine, and one day she just doesn't show up to work, and she thinks it's weird, but nobody else does. So then she starts going on this wild goose chase to figure out what happened to her coworker. It's salacious, it's fast-paced, and I highly recommend you pick it up.
Hey everybody, my name is Liz, and this is my channel, Liz Loves Books. I am so excited today because I get to represent Wisconsin. So my most surprising book and my #1 book so far of 2025 is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This was released in the fall of 2024. It's a YA horror book. And it's kind of surprising that that's my favorite just because I do read horror, but it's not like my most read genre. It follows our 2 male main characters, Andrew and Thomas. Andrew writes these twisted fairy tale stories, and then Thomas illustrates them and kind of brings them to life in these stories. And it's kind of just talking about the 2 of them and just their experiences that they're dealing with in their last year of high school, and just how they're connecting with each other, as well as Andrew's sister Dove, who is another character in the book. And there's just twist after twist in this book. I didn't guess the main twist that occurs, so I always really love that as well. And an interesting fact about Wisconsin, everyone knows that Wisconsin is the dairy land, right? It's the #1 producer of cheese in the US. And it's second in milk, which I'm curious to know where first is. But it says 90% of milk originating from Wisconsin is used for making cheese, and has the largest dairy cattle per square kilometer as well. And it's the only state in the US to offer a career as a cheese master, which I did not know. And I'm like, why didn't I become a cheese master? And it's a 3-year program where you learn everything about cheese and how to make it. And then the state has more than 1,290 cheese making factories. So There you go. I wouldn't be a Wisconsinite if I didn't talk about cheese.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my channel is Books I'm Not Reading. It's a bit ironic because I do read books. I do hope you'll swing by and say hello. I am so honored to be representing the state of Wyoming, a place of wide open spaces where there are more antelope than there are people. I wanted to recommend 2 books that take place in Wyoming to you that you may not have heard of. The first one is Owen Wister's The Virginian. This is considered to be the first Western. I promise you though, even if you feel like you don't like Westerns, this is a book worth checking out. It is set in Wyoming and it was at least partially written in Wyoming. The other one is James Galvin's The Meadow, and this is a book where the meadow itself, which is a real place, actually becomes almost like a character in the novel. These are about very real people and very real places, although you know, names have been changed and things. It's not nonfiction, it's fiction, but it's a fantastic book. So I hope that you will check one of these 2 books out.
And with that, I hope you enjoyed getting to know some of these booktubers across the USA. Their channels will all be tagged down below. How many flags were you able to collect from the booktubers you have already subscribed to? If you want to find even more booktubers from across the USA, I will have the other 2 videos linked down in the description as well. You can go see if you are subscribed to any of those booktubers as well. I want to thank you so much and thank the participants as well for representing booktubers across the USA. Our country is going through a lot right now, but I feel like books can really bring people together. And even though we don't read the same books, the same genres, the same tropes, we can all find books that surprise us. So thank you for sharing your love of books. And through these videos, I hope that we are able to find that we have more in common than we have differences. And that, to me, is what the USA spirit is all about. So happy 4th of July, everybody. Be safe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.